Kathy here from kathyskutekreations. Today is the final block 12 called Rising Tide for the Murder at the Luau. Let me show you the paper. There you go. I have all of my pieces cut out just like this, and I use this vellum transparent. That's what I use. And I use a quarter ruler. It's called Add a Quarter. It's got a little lip here, right here, that catches on your fabric. So you lay it on your fabric like, here's your fabric. And when you get ready to cut, you lay it like this because it has a little groove, and then you cut. And that's a 1/4 inch from the fabric. All right, and I've got my fabric laid over here, and I will show you. It's the same stuff I used last time for number 11, but let me go ahead and show it to you. Okay, so I went ahead and I did the first block, and I'm just coming back real quick to tell you that I made a mistake in it, and I went ahead and corrected it, not from the beginning by tearing it out. It was the third, I believe, the third piece of fabric. Somehow I forgot to cut off my 1/4 inch, and you can see based on that how it would be too thick. Okay, so that's one thing. The second, when I fixed it, what I did was, for all of those that have already been doing a lot of paper piecing, but you've never had a mistake and had to fix it, I didn't want to take the whole thing out again or make another sheet. So all I did was ripped out a little bit of it, and it was strictly a test because usually I would just take all the stitches out and I would begin from scratch from the very beginning, and I would have started all over. But I didn't want to do it this time. I wanted to see if I could figure out how to fix it going forward from here. So if you're new, I don't know if you'll understand it or not, but just bear with me and follow along because it gets done the same way every single time. Then I turned around and made another mistake. This mistake was totally leaving off a piece. But it also taught another thing, because where it was the 4th piece, I think, and it was okay that even though I didn't do it at the number 4, because you go in order, 1 through however many, and this has 1 through 8 pieces to sew, or pieces of fabric to attach to this paper piecing. But in this case, and not always now, I'm just letting you know that, for example, when I made the first mistake, you could not have stopped and not done some type of removing the stitches. On this one, because there was nothing else going to be attached to it, it was fine to do it last. Although it wasn't the last one to put on, it was the 4th one, not the 8th one. So just so you have an idea that you can do that as long as there's nothing else going on to it. And you'll see it more so when I get into the video and you see it. So I just wanted to squeeze in here real quick and give you that update. So that's going to be coming up in this video where those 2 mistakes are at. I have it on this little board right here. I mean, this little table. And it's just sitting here next to the ironing board, and then I just grab my fabric off of it. These are my colors. And here are the tools that I'm going to use. A seam rubber in case I have a mistake, my Add a Quarter ruler. I have another ruler to trim with, which I'll show you if you don't have one of these, how to use this one, and my rotary cutter. So I am going to pick out the largest square here, or actually the largest piece, which will be easier to show you. And when you start out, you want to go ahead and print out the practice piece that comes with this sheet here, because you always get a practice piece so that you can get yourself back into the groove of it if it's been a while since you've done paper piecing. And the way that you begin, I'm going to show you here. Give you an idea. So these large numbers, they represent the fabric that we're going to use. The small numbers are the order that we attach our fabric. So this is our first piece of fabric, and then our second piece is here, and you sew on this side of the paper, and your fabric goes on the other side of the paper. Let me get the first fabrics out, which are FF1 and FF2. FF1 is this yellow. You want to iron your fabric. Now these are just 2 pieces. They're not. So what you do is you take your first fabric, you take the right side and you put it downward. And this is our number 1, so we want to cover number 1. Because when we sew it, we get done sewing it, we'll flip it over, and this is what we want to see, the pretty side. So you make sure that number 1 covers the entire thing. Now this is number 2 because it says J2, so we take this And let's just pretend we've sewn this on. Now we haven't, because we're going to sew the two together to start out with. Well, when you sew this on, it gets sewn on like this, and then it gets flipped like that. So you're going to put this right side to this right side. Like this. And it needs to be covering number 2, and it is. So that when we flip it, it's going to flip this direction. Because the fabric is coming, let me show you. We're going to sew on this line here, which is between 1 and 2. This represents the first sewing line. So when you sew that fabric on, it's going to be flipped over to here. So it'd be like this. You would sew it on this line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this, and it would go this way, because you know what you're doing is you're trying to cover this fabric here, and it ends up like that. So the easiest way to do it for the first timers is go ahead and make these 2 pieces fit over. Now this piece right here fit over the whole thing, and then you won't be too short. And then we're going to sew it on this line right here. Now I am using an off-white thread on here. It's like a cream color, white in the bobbin. In my case, my machine, I've taken it from my 2.5 length, which is your normal length. I've taken it down to 1.4 because I want a small little stitch to go along here. Oh, and I did forget to tell you that if for some reason you have to take it out and you've perforated this paper because you've taken it out and the stitches are real little, you can take masking tape, which is what I have up here because I also use it, and I will replace it. So what I do is I just pull out a piece and put it right across the part that got weak on both sides of the paper, and then just go over the top of it, because you can do that if you want to. Otherwise, you would have to go ahead and print out another copy of this piece of paper here, which is representing this square. Now, after we get all of these finished, we're going to put them together, and I will show you how to connect them. So do not back stitch. You don't need to be locking it into place. Just go right down to this end here. And if you want to use an open-toed foot so that you can see it when it gets to the end, you can do that. I'll come down here and guess it. Take a look. It's good. Take it off. Then you're going to take it out. You're going to flip this upside down. Let me back up a little bit. Oh, also I wanted to show you, I use a little wooden iron. So what I do is first I smooth it out with my hands, and then I use an iron. The reason I don't use the full-size iron is because I don't want to weaken my paper, because you know, with this constant ironing, please do not use steam, because your paper may just melt away on you, and you need the paper. We do not take the paper off until we've actually assembled the quilt. So that's the first two. And then what you do is you hold it up like this, and you make sure that number 2 covered it, and it did, and you want a 1/4 inch on this end and this end, so it needs to cover all of this right here. Let me show you here on the table. I'm going to turn it around. What I was showing you is, whenever you put your piece on each time, you want it to be a 1/4 inch. This is a 1/4 inch. These little dashes, let me see if you can see them. Right there. That is the actual sewing line. When I cut my paper out, I went beyond the sewing line. So what I do is I make sure that my fabric comes off of here. Then I will trim it down there. So right now I'm going to trim it right here. I'm not going to trim it down to there. When I begin, I'll trim it here. Now that this is 1 and 2, you look for number 3, which in our case is this big piece here. And our next fabric is this. Now it is the same as this yellow color, because that was our number 1. J1 and J3 are both FF1, which is the yellow. And this is our sewing line right here. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And first we're going to trim it. You take it, and you take the next line that you're going to be cutting on, you fold your paper back, because what we're trying to do is establish our 1/4 inch so all of this extra fabric won't be in our quilt, or in this block, as a matter of fact. So we don't want any of this stuff in there except our 1/4 inch. Now, if you have the longer 1/4 inch, which I do, but I don't have it out of my drawer, I'm going to go ahead and use this small one because you can slide it. It does slide. And then all you do is you put that up against there and move it, and it locks itself up against that paper. You take all this off, fold this back, and now you can see this is a 1/4 inch right here, and that's what we need. Now this is really easy to do, so I'm going to get me some more of that yellow, and then I'm going to show you how to lay it down. Alright, so here's my strip of yellow that I have, and I want to make sure that it goes over this entire thing. Well, we know that this isn't going to be enough because I can't get it a 1/4 inch around it. So I'm going to have to turn it this way. Let's just put it up underneath there. And we know we want it to cover all of this, so I will cut it off right here. Because I'm covering this right here. Now remember, if you get confused on how to have your fabric, you want this, just like anything else, when we sew, we're sewing the wrong sides together so that when we flip it, we have the right sides facing up. So in this case, we're going to have the fabric looking at us. We're going to take this, here's our sewing line, and I'm going to put it right up against there, which is my 1/4 inch. Just like that. And if you want to pin it, you feel like you can't hold on to your paper or whatever, by all means, just take a pin, put it right here. This is where our stitch is going to be. There's where our fabric is. Take it right over here to the sewing machine. I just looked back at my filming and it cut itself off. So let me do this again. And I actually said in the last clip the wrong side together, but it's the right sides together. And then you put it on your machine here. And you're going to sew it from one side to the other. And you're going all the way down here past your mark that you had sewed the first time, because this is the second line between 2 and 3. And I got one more. And then cut it. It is right here. We open it up like this, and then you smooth it out. And now you have your first, your second, and your third pieces. So we flip it back over. And now we're going to look to see where number 4 is, and it says this is number 4. So we're going to take our paper and we're going to fold it back on the number 4 line, because we're trying to get that 1/4 inch off on here, and we want all of this fabric off. So you put your ruler over here. Now we can go ahead, while this is open now, and take our ruler, which I have this bigger ruler here, and go ahead and take the excess off here. So I'm not going to the dash line yet. I'm going to go a little bit outside of it, a 1/4 inch outside of it. All I'm doing is getting rid of this excess fabric here, because that's already covering it, and it's not going to hurt anything. It's just extra. Okay, so this is all extra fabric. And this is where we're going to be putting our piece on next. Right here. So now we have to get our color AC5. And that happens to be a solid yellow in my case. This is the color, and I don't have any scraps, so I have to cut a piece off of here. So let me do that real quick. A piece here. And keep in mind, here's where my 1/4 inch is. And actually, let me go ahead and cut off this excess. So I did not get that cut off earlier. I don't know how I managed to miss that. So let me get my seam ripper here. I should have taken off the excess here, and I didn't. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this little corner here off, because I need it to be straight. And here's where I'm going to end up using my tape, because you can see how my paper tore. So let me get my tape on there right now. Okay, and this needed to be cut off, so I can't come all the way off because I need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my 1/4 inch from my seam, and then put my 1/4 inch up here. I'm cutting through 3 layers. I don't know how I missed that, but I sure did. I'm going to need to cut it because it's on an angle there. There we go. Oh, for heaven's sakes. All right, let's start over. Okay, so this is how I'm going to fix my mistake. I accidentally cut number 1 off. I have other fabric here that will work. So let me cut this here. Alrighty. So the first thing I'm going to do is I took off the, let's see, is it the beginning or the ending? The ending. I'm calling this the beginning on this side here. So I took these 2 off. I'm going to pin this piece here. The choice between pinning or taping, I'm going to pin it, because I don't want to sew it accidentally. I'm going to leave this on here, and I'm going to try this. Now, I don't know if it'll work or not. This is the first time I've had a mistake like this, so let's see if it'll work. That's the question. All right, so I know that I want this here, which is number 2, to go on there. So there it would be right sides together like this. There's my 1/4 inch right here. So I need to take this and pin it down, because I want it to stay put. I'm trying to figure out how I'm sewing like this. Okay, because I want that fabric to stay put right there. So, well, I won't be able to do it that way because that pin will not let my fabric bend. So I'm going to put a piece of tape on it, because I can take that off when I'm done. Okay, my main thing is looking at right here. So I just want to tape this. Okay, I'm going to fold back on the line here, because, and I don't know if I can do this or not. And there's my 1/4 inch right here. And it is going to stop right there before this pin. So let me put my pin in there, because my stop line is right here. So I'm going to sew that together. Whoops, I need to open that up and put my pin in it. Like this. Okay. I've got a 1/4 inch. All right, let me go to the sewing machine and sew that. Okay, so I ironed this back on here. We're going to flip it over. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Okay, so that looks good. And then our catch-all is this piece here, which needs to be sewn down. So let me flatten this out really good. And then this piece goes on. Because that is this one here. Oh, let me get this off my tape. Get my tape off of there. Which I hope will come off. There we go. Okay. Because so here's my 1 and here's my 2, and I would fold it back like that because it has to be sewn all along that entire line. And normally this is where we would be cutting off the excess. So let me see what happens when I cut it off. Because if it doesn't work, I've got to redo the whole thing. And my ruler's over here. Okay, let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, we just start over. Let's see here. Okay. And then I need to sew it on that line right there, which will get that. So I hold it and take it over here. One more. Let's take a look at it, and yes, it did work. Let me show it to you. Here it is. So it's all 3 pieces, and they are correct now. That's the way that I would fix the boo-boos, but you guys that are new cannot fix it like that. So make sure that every time you've sewn on a strip, that you fold it back. So here's our next one. So we would fold this back. This is how I found out I'd made a mistake, because of the thicknesses of all the fabric. As if it's easier, and usually when you are a beginner, it is easier to take it all apart. So I took off that 1/4 inch, and there we go. So we're going to look at it. And nothing else. Let me see. Okay, everything looks good over there. But that was number 4. And so we have to do number 5, which is this little bitty piece right here. So we're going to fold this back on that line, which is right here. You're going to take the 1/4 inch off. Well, we're adding a 1/4 inch. We're making sure that the excess fabric's off. So we take that off because it's just this little piece right here, and it is FF4. So 5 and 6 are going to be the same colors. So this FF4, okay, it's black. So here's a sheet of, here's my black here. So let me iron it real quick. And it has to take up this space and that space. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to cut it. Get that out of the way. We'll use the little one. We have to do the little one first, which is that one. take it, and we know that this is going to fit. It's going to cover that up. So here's our quarter. So we're going to put the right sides together. So this is facing up to us, and we're going to lay it on that. We're going to take it over here to the sewing machine. Remember now, you can pin this right here. Here I am at the machine. I can see my 1/4 inch. I fold over my paper, and now I'm going to sew it from the tip here to the other end, all the way to this end right here. And I got one more I can do. There we go. Flip it over. And then we're going to smooth it out. We're going to finger press it for starters. Okay. Over here. So see how it goes the 1/4 inch off, so we're fine with that. And it went down far enough here. See how it went off there? But this is our next piece, which is the black. So we're going to take it this away. We're going to fold on our line, which is right here. And we're going to do our 1/4 inch. We're going to get our ruler. I'm going to put it right side up instead of upside down. Okay. Now we have to do the black here. So we want to make sure that it covers all of this because we need that 1/4 inch. So this is how much we need, at least that much. So I'm going to leave the whole thing on there. Face it up. Put my paper on it. I'm going to keep it folded. Make sure you're in the camera here. Then I'm going to put my 1/4 inch up there, just like this. So that I know when it goes on there, it's going to cover all of that. So I'm going to take it over here to the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it right here to hold it. And now I'm going to sew down this line here. And it's going all the way down to here. And I've made it. And I see here that my paper is coming away, so I'm going to put tape on that. This is where I had that mistake, and I had to take some of my fabric out to redo it. So there we go. Let's take my pin out, take it over here to the table. Okay, we're going to flip it over, and we want to turn this. I'm going to smooth it out. It's coming along really good here. Flip it back over. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to have a little piece right here. Oops. I didn't even put my... Okay, so we can stop because I forgot to put this fabric right here. The AC5. Which is... Where's my AC5? The yellow. I forgot to put my plain yellow on this corner here. So let's stop what I'm doing and put this on this corner. Let me go ahead and trim this. I don't know how I missed that. So let's trim this. Because this is by itself and has nothing else, so we can always add this. So lay it like this. Take it over here to the sewing machine, just like that. While you're watching me, when I got off of that and started doing this other one, you probably went, what the heck? She jumped to the other one. But since there's nothing around here to be added, it's not a problem to go ahead and add it now. To the end, one more. I'm going to flip it over. And smooth it out. Okay, now, before we do this corner, we're going to go ahead and trim. Get all this excess off. So let's go beyond the square. It's not even really a square, but okay. And we can do this up here just to get rid of it, just the excess a little bit. We'll cut it down here in a minute. Okay. So now when you're looking at this, let me get this excess off here. All right. Now we have number 7, because here was our 5, our 6, our 7, which is FF2, which is the same as this pink, because that's what this one is right here. So we're going to fold this back on the line, and we're taking all this excess off. Now, if you don't have one of these rulers, you can use a ruler like this. This one has the 1/4 inch already on it, but you can get one that doesn't have it on it. So let me get another ruler out here that doesn't have it. This one here doesn't have it marked. And here is my, well, you can look down here. Each one of these larger, let's see if I can get it up here. Take that off of here for the glare. Okay, so my 1/4 inch is here, and then there's the halfway point. So this long line right here is my 1/4 inch. So this is the line that I'm going to lay up against here if I did not have that other kind of ruler. And just lay it up there and cut. Just in case you don't have this 1/4 inch. Just like that. Now our FF2, which is the pink, and here's a piece right here, which will be big enough. So right sides together, right sides together. Put it like that. And now I'm going to bring it over here to the machine and sew it. I'm going down the line here. Straight down to the edge. And I think I can go one more. Okay. Take it over here to the table. To flip it over. I'm going to finger press it. And we have one more. This is J8, which is the last one to sew, and it is an FF3, which we have not used yet. It is this color right here. So I could actually, since I don't have a smaller piece, I can use this piece right here. Take it off of there. Put it on here. And first I'm going to fold it back just like before. Need to fold it on our line, which is right there. Talk about putting a teeny weeny piece on there. Woo! Let's go ahead and cut it off. The end here, the 1/4 inch. And we needed to cover that little spot. So right sides together. Like this, and then we're going to sew on the line. Take it over here to the machine. And we go. Now, this is where you want to make sure that everything is on there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's how many we had. So let's smooth this down, which is just a teeny weeny little bit right there. We're going to flip it over, and now I'm going to go ahead and trim it. So I take this size of a ruler. This has my 1/4 inch on it right here, which is the frosted. Now I will go on the dotted lines, and actually instead of going right on them, I come off of it because that's my 1/4 inch for when I put this together. And I go ahead and I trim these little corners here. And if you have a revolving table, you can use it. I did it in the last video. And then my last edge here. Okay, now I take it, I will iron it flat, and then when I get done, I will put it between 2 books over here to keep it flat. And then I'm going to do all of these. See if I can grab a hold of them. I'm going to go ahead and finish up all of these, and when I get done, I will be back and we will put all these together, and I'll show you how to do that. Now I went ahead and I put these in alphabetical order. So let me show you here. That's A. See it? A. This one's B. C. And so on. All the way across here. Now, looking at this here, that first block says you're going to take P-O-N-M and you're going to put it together. So that's why I found out that it was easier just to put this in alphabetical order. So here's my P, and I only have 2 of them, and it wants this shape right here. I'll take it right over here to show you. That's the P shape right here. Now I'm looking for the O. Here's my O's. So it looks like it is this one here, right here. That's the way that O looks to me. See? Now I'm looking for this shape in an N. And here's my ends right here. And it looked like this shape here at an angle like this. So I'm going to put it over here. See how it looks like that? That shape right there, that N. So then I'm going to put the N here. And now I'm looking for the M, and it looks like it's only got 2 things on it. So I go over here to the M. I only have 1 M. Here it is right here. So that's the M. So I have them laid out there on the table like that. And now I sew them together based on this picture. And that's what I'm going to do with all of these. I'm going to take my picture and match them up just like this. And it shows me M is at the bottom, then N. Let me get a little closer here. Then O, and then P. So that's the way I'm going to sew them. So here to the right hand side. Well, actually I better go down here. Okay, so it's saying to take this one and to put them together like that and sew them together. And I'll show you how I'm going to put them together. I'm going to take them. You're going to put your right sides together like this. Now I'm going to pin it from the left to the right. Let me make sure I'm doing it right here. Okay, so the long end goes like that. So it goes like this. So that when you sew it, it flips like that. So just like the last video, I'm going to get my corners. Like that. It's going to be pretty thick because it's got a lot of layers here. So we do, this is what I do. Pin it like that so I can hold it straight. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other end. Like that. Trying to see the other one right there, like that. Oops, wrong corner. Has to go to this corner over here. Jeez, here we go. Let's see if I got it right now. There we go, like that and like that. And then while these pins, whoops, I've lost my pin out of here, which is right there. So while the pins are still in, see they're both in, they're holding my paper down, then I'll take a pin and just pin it. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in on the line here. Let me flip another light on here. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay, so try to go in on this line and come out on that line. See how I came out on that line? And then do it, because then you know what's on the line. And I'll do it again right here, because you want to line it up. And like that. And then you can take this out. While I'm holding it, I'm moving it to the side. Or if you don't want to take your pin out yet, you can always put another pin in it. And then just pin from this end to that, and I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of tape on this because, as you can see, the wear and tear of it has lifted the paper, and I don't want the paper off yet. Okay. And I've got my open-toed foot on here to make it more convenient so I can see it. Alright, and let's just sew it. And like I say, you do not need to lock. Just take your time. You're going right on the line. Try not to run over any of your pins. And since I have not come up with an idea while I was doing this for that quilt assembly yet, I'm going to go ahead and put these together. And then when I'm finished putting all these together, I'm going to come back and I'm going to go ahead and give you chapter 12 and tell you the ending about that surprise that I mentioned in the last video. If you watched it to the tail end, you saw that we had something thrown at us that was quite unexpected, and I'm going to tell you about that. Of course, now, the unexpected thing that we learned, I did not by any chance think that the person that I had thought was the murderer. It did not change my opinion on anything based on what we found out. See how I'm going around that, not really telling you what it is yet? Alright, so then we're going to take the B, the C, oh my gosh, I can't read my letters. The O, which is right here, and based on the picture, I'm going to put it back like this because this is what we're looking at. We're going to attach it to this. There's going to be a lot of bulk in here, so we could go ahead and take this and smooth it that direction, which would help us out. I'm not ironing it because I don't want to iron it yet. I'm going to take it like that, and it's going to go like this, and I'm going to pin it the same exact way. Let me show you here. So I want to pin, since this is going to go like this, I want to pin this. Now I smooth this down going downward so that we don't have so much bulk. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did before. I'm going to put this on the corner right there. And then I'm going to do it on the corner here. See if I can get it in there a little bit. Stick my hand away. I guess I won't come up between my thumb. There we go, like that. This way it's going to keep it lined up. Do the same thing here. You're going to do this on every one of them as you put them together. And then let's make sure we don't take our fabric there with us. I hope I didn't get that turned around now that I'm looking at it. Let's make sure that's right. So when it gets folded up, it should look... All right, let me put a pin on it. Hold on one second. Let's put a pin this way as if it was sewn. That's right on the line too. Okay. So the lettering on this should be pointed straight up like you could read it. And that's how you know you got it on there correctly. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to pin the middle part. I'm probably overkilling with my pins, but and then this end here. Just hold on to it, that's all. And then I just make sure it's straight before I pull my pin out, then it's all lined up and hasn't shifted on me. And then pin it, and then go ahead and sew it. Just like I did the last one. I'm glad this story had a happy ending, really I am. I was wondering how it was going to end. Can't wait to get to the next one. I'm going to take a break after this one. And we're going to have a different kind of video and get our minds off of this, and then we're going to start the next one. There's how that one, here's how this one's going to look. That's 3 pieces now. And then we have our last piece, which is this little piece here that we're going to put on the top. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I did, I can't remember how many were in here. But I sewed almost all of them during Becca's live last night. And then I had 4 this morning, and she had another live. And so I finished the 4. And then figured I'd finish this video here so I can get it up. Okay, now that one is way off. So let's see here. There we go. That helped it. Okay. Like that. I'm gonna need to buy some more of these really good pens. I like these small ones were listed as Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop, her favorites. Now, I used to really like, let me see here if I can find one for you. Okay, so I really liked this pen here. Let's see if I can show it to you. And then I'm going to put hers next to it to give you an idea. So hers is the shorter one, and it's a little bit thicker, and the head is a little bit bigger. And I've come to like these because these are stronger from my fabric. This thing, you probably can't see it, but it's actually got a little bit of a bend in it. So I've gone through a lot of these just with this paper piecing because I need a harder pin, something that's not so flexible. Let's go ahead and sew this last piece on. Get like about 2 of these, and then I'm gonna have to stop and take my pen out. There we go. And when we're putting these together, we're still keeping the short little stitch. I'm gonna go down one more, 1.4. And it looks like this piece of paper is gonna have a little tape on it too. Better go a little closer here. Keep it straight. There we go. You don't have to backstitch. And then here we go. And there's our block. And that's it. And now I'm going to go ahead and put all the rest together the same exact way. And then I'll be back when they're all together. Alright, I have to backpedal, so I've come back to go ahead and do this one again, and I wanted to say something. Alright, I don't know how many people out there are actually bought this because I bought it, and are following me along and putting it together, and want to actually see the way that it goes together. Remember, I was not going to put it together the way that they did. I was going to do something else. So what I need from you is, if you bought this kit because I've bought it and you want to see how to put it together the correct way, which is the way that it's going together by the directions, then I will go ahead and do that and put it together. Because while I'm sitting here thinking about it, I can't just buy this if you guys are following me and then go and change the darn thing, because maybe you don't want to change. Maybe you like the way it's going to turn out. And then I feel like that I've let you down. So I don't want to let anybody down. I want to go ahead and piece it whichever way that you want. So you can either message me, you can email me, or you can leave a comment. Whatever you want to do. I will hold off putting this together. I'll put it aside in a tub. You guys let me know if you want me to just go ahead and just stick it together. It doesn't make any difference. You're not following. I mean, you're following, but you didn't buy it because I bought it, and you want to see the finished product the way it is. But if you do want to see the way that it went together, let me know, and I will put it that way so that you all can see the way that it goes together, block by block. Okay? Thanks. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and sew this one together. And I do want to let you know that I have a plastic as well as this metal foot here. And I tried the plastic one first, but the plastic one is too lightweight, and so my paper would not stay still. It kept sliding, and this is when I was putting the paper piecing itself together. It wouldn't even stay, the paper and the fabric would not stay together. It kept slipping off. So that's why I went ahead and switched to this more of a solid, I guess a heavier weight than that little plastic one that I got over here that's lightweight. I don't know if it would be slipping now, but I'm just going to go ahead and use this. And I'm trying to think, I don't know if this came with my machine or I bought it. I know I bought the lightweight plastic one. I bought that one. Because I buy a lot of different feet I've bought. And since I have all the same machines, the baby lock machines, let me make sure I'm going on here, then all my feet will interchange with each other so I can use them on all my machines. That's the advantage if you get all of the same kind of machine. You don't have to buy different feet when it comes time that you want to change and use something different. Alright. Take a look at this one here. This was the next one I put together. is these three. I put these two together first, 1, 2, and then 3. And then just smooth it down like that. That's the way it looks. Go ahead and pin it just like before. And then just slowly go down. Looks like I'm going to have to reinforce a few pieces of the paper that's starting to tear on me. And I can do it when I'm finished here. Now it doesn't want to move. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Had a lot of bulk there, so it didn't want to move. I do not know why that is. There we go. If you need to push a little bit, then by all means push a little bit on it to get it to go. That's what I'm having to do. Well, that pin's gonna have to go in the trash. Actually, the little pin container over here, I take it and bend it. Then I got a little magnetic cup that I put it in over here. And then I gathered at the end. So let's take a look at this. Okay. I think I'm going to turn it this way because I have more seams on my left side than my right side. Okay. I tell you what, I'm not really up to matching all this. I mean, even though I came in here, it's pretty good. I mean, it's matching up, so it's not like I had to actually worry about it. I don't think it's going to be that bad. There we go. Let's back it up a little bit so you can take a look at it. Now, keep in mind, you do not have to be squaring these up because, remember now, it's all your paper squaring them up. Okay, the seam on this is going to be right here. This is your 1/4 inch. That's your seam right there. They're already all lining up. Now let me go ahead and finish putting all the rest of these together. Then I'll be back and lay them out and show you how many we got. Alrighty, so I'm going to explain this one more time. I felt like it was too much white and bright before. So on this pattern, I'm going to show you how to read it. Now, these are units 5 through 2. The square is going to look like that when it's finished. This is one side of the square, these 3 pieces. These 2 pieces are the other side of the square. You sew these first. The arrow shows you how to sew them together. So you're taking the bottom one and you're going to sew it to this one. Then you're going to sew it to this one. Then you're going to take this one and sew it to this one. Then when you're finished, you're going to put this one to this one. Now let me show you with the paper over here. So I laid the paper out here so it'd be easier to see. So you're going to sew these 2 together. Then when you get these 2 together, you're going to sew it to this. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to sew these 2 pieces together. And then when you're done, you're going to sew these 2 to this one. Because then this will fit all the way across that. So let me go ahead and get each set sewn and then I'm going to show you. Both of the sets are sewn together. And remember now, you do right sides together. So they want to take these 2 to put together. So just flip them over, just like this. And they're going to go like that. And we're going to sew these together. When all is said and done, we have 4 blocks. This is what they look like. So these were the tail end of the blocks. You're going to put them together with all of your blocks. Let me know what you've decided, and I'm going to be right back with the story. It is 2 chapters. It is 12 and 13. Just a minute. Alrighty, so I am back to tell you chapter 12, The Rising Tide, before I go on to the last chapter. Chapter 12 is where we have our surprise. So now she has figured out what happened. And this is where we throw in the little bitty surprise. So Kitty went back to the morgue because she's trying to think. And all of this really only happened just within days that she's trying to figure out who did it. So what she did, which, I always wondered about a morgue, about this part right here, is she actually laid on one of the trays that's in the refrigerator. Now, she didn't shut the door all the way, but she laid on it, and she went ahead and fell asleep. Well, then she heard somebody coming into the morgue, and it was the young boy, Jonathan, the assistant. I guess he's considered an assistant. And he was pulling an empty gurney, and she sat up on her and put her head on her elbow and said hi to him. When she did, she scared the dickens out of him. So he didn't even see her laying there. He got himself all calmed down and everything, and they got to talking, and she said, wanted to know why he was upset. Well, first she asked him if he knew how to surf, because the reason I think is, remember when she got attacked in the water, she still isn't quite sure who did it. Well, she noticed, because she went through the, when she was going through the morgue and helping the coroner, that there was a trophy for surfing in the bottom drawer. So she was asking him if it was his. And it was like a championship trophy that he got. And so he said, yes, it was his. And she said, well, do you like to surf? And he said, I did like to, but I don't. Is it because your mother? And his face fell open, and he went, what? And so that was the clincher. And so they went ahead and discussed the fact that the reason she figured it out is that she figured it had to be something really big for a reason that Angela did not want to leave the island. Come to find out, this boy Jonathan was her child that she had given up for adoption. Well, he found out, she never told him, she never approached him or anything, because she was scared if she did, then he wouldn't like her and would hate her and have nothing to do with her. But Kitty kept thinking, all she kept thinking is every time she talked to somebody, everybody said that Angela was a wonderful woman, that she was loving, kind. It didn't make any difference who you were. She would help you out no matter what's going on with your life. And so she couldn't quite understand, if that was the case, why would she not let her husband take the position off the island if everybody felt that way about her? It didn't make any sense. So she tried to figure out what was holding her to this island. That's when she discovered it was Jonathan, which turned out to be her son. So they went ahead and they talked about that. And so she asked, how did he find out about it? Well, he said that his stepmother had made him take piano lessons, and that they were the only people that had a piano, and he found out when they had a party at their house, and everybody was invited from the island. And he said it was kind of odd that they had a piano because nobody had when the houses were too small. Well, you know how you have pictures and everything up on your piano? He didn't give it another thought. So he sat down and decided to play, and while he was playing, he looked up at the pictures, and he saw her, and then he saw a child in the picture, and he recognized the neighborhood to be his neighborhood where he come from. So he's thinking, well, why didn't she ever mention that she had gone to his town? He didn't understand it. And then he started putting 2 and 2 together. And when she come out, or well, he didn't put 2 and 2 together, he was trying to figure out if she was keeping something from him. Okay, so maybe she knew his adoptive parents. Anyway, she comes out of the kitchen hearing the music, and she was smiling and everything, and then she realized he'd been looking at the picture by the look. Excuse me. So she went ahead and she told him the story. She was very, very young. She got pregnant, and first she was going to keep the baby, but her grandmother was very upset and refused to talk to her. And she couldn't live like that. So she went ahead and gave the baby up for adoption. But she never quit thinking about him. Well, then he got ticked off at her. So then Kitty said, mad enough that you would kill her? And he said, no. And then he stormed out of the morgue ticked off at Kitty now. So now she's sitting there trying to figure out whether he could have done it. So that's like put one more person into the mix. Now, that really didn't change my mind as to who I thought was doing it because of my reasoning. Just, that's the way it was. I didn't think the kid did it. I don't think the kid had it in him to do it. Because really, he's a good kid. He's confused when he came to the island. She helped him out. She did everything for him. She treated him just like he was her kid without him knowing he was her kid. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to show you, before I go on to chapter 13, what this quilt is going to look like when it's totally finished so that you can decide whether you would like me to do it this way or not. I'm going to give you all the choice. Okay. So it's supposed to look like this right here when it's all finished. Let me see if I can, let me fold the paper a little bit better so y'all can see it. This is when it's showing you how to put the side strips and everything on. Before you put the borders and after you put the borders. I think that I got that up there enough. There you go. That's what it would look like. And let me see. And then they went and put, and I'm going to show you this page here, because I pulled all the pages out. Stick some pages behind it so that it's... First they put a border which we call a piano border, and then you use the fabrics that you had bought, whatever's left over, and you would put them around like that. That's called the piano border. A solid border is like this here with the pink. If you wanted to use your pink, you would have enough pink. Whatever color you have the most of. And if you don't want to use any of the colors that's in it, you can always use some other colors. You could have went ahead and gone with the blue and just had the ocean go all the way out there, you know, which would make it look like this was more on the inside. And then here's another one of the completed quilt top right there. Let's see, get as close as I can for y'all to see it. So let me know what y'all want me to do. When we put it together, this is what should have come in your kit. It's numbered to show you how to put it together. That's how you figure out how to put it together. Actually, I wouldn't even do that with the number thing. I mean, I guess you could if you didn't use the right kind of colors, but you know, this is like putting a puzzle together. You ought to be able to do that. So that ought to be pretty easy to do. But like I said, let me know one way or the other. Now let's go on to chapter 13, which is the final chapter, and it will tell us who did it. So chapter 13 is called Tide Pool. Kitty got everybody into the morgue. That is Jonathan, her son, Angela's son, the lady that was murdered, Marcus, the husband, Lacey, the assistant to Marcus, the mortician, which her name was Noah Laney. I think that's how it's pronounced. Then there was a guy that was the head of the department. She didn't want police there. The anthropology department, which is her department. And they said that she actually was hit on the head twice. The first time she was hit, she was killed. The second time she was hit, it was the cover-up. So they talked a little bit about that. First off, she made the comment that that somebody had tried to kill her last week. And that kind of led her to the killer, because the reason for her that someone tried to kill her is they did not want her to pursue the seed, which was our first clue back on chapter 1, I think. And they didn't want her to pursue the seed because as soon as they did, they would figure out who killed her. The seed happened to be from the flower that they were, the orchid, which is the flower they were using to make the leis. And the person that was with her was Lacey. So Lacey was the person who killed her. Angela and Lacey, making the leis, they got in an argument because Lacey had to bring it up that she could not understand why Angela would not let her husband go to the mainland and pursue his career. And it came out. Angela went ahead and admitted that Jonathan was her son and that she was not leaving him and she was not going off the island. Just because she was mad. And then the first thing she thought about was, oh my gosh, she needed to cover it up because when she hit her, the seeds were everywhere. And by assisting Marcus, she knew enough that that's what was going to be checked out was the seeds. So she tried to brush them all off. She couldn't get rid of them. So she figured that what she would do is she'd hit her on the head with a coconut, and therefore the fibers of the coconut would be in her head, because everybody on that island knew that a coconut could kill you if you got underneath one of the coconut trees. And that was her whole line of thinking. She just panicked, literally. But that's the one who did it. And I did come up with the answer. Did anybody else figure it out? I figured it out because I felt like she was so infatuated and in love with him. And when this little, I guess this little talk, when they were coming up with it, she actually made the comment that she got rid of her for him. Didn't he understand that she loved him and wanted him to do what he wanted to do? So that was the end of that story. Now, let me know what you want to do about the assembly of this quilt, and then we're going to get started on next year's murder mystery. I came back so I could tell you the good part about the story. When Marcus found out that his wife had a son, he was overjoyed because they themselves had never had any children. And he took to this boy Jonathan, and Jonathan took to him, and they both left the mainland, and Marcus went ahead and accepted the job and took Jonathan with him, and they got to know each other, and he's treating him just like his son. So that was the best part of the story, I think. Till next time, guys. I'll see you. Bye-bye.